I swear, the sound of my name being called for my diploma was instantly eclipsed by the shriek that ripped through the auditorium. She cheated to get here. My own sister, standing up in the middle of my graduation ceremony, pointing a trembling finger at me, her face contorted in a mask of pure venom. The entire audience, all those proud parents and smiling families, froze. You could have heard a pin drop as every single eye in that massive hall swung from her to me, then back again. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trying to escape its cage. My mother looked like she was about to faint. My father's face was beet red, and I just stood there, on the verge of walking across the stage, completely paralyzed. Was I wrong for what I did to her after that? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same? Let me take you back to the beginning, long before that horrific day. My sister, Clara, and I were always different. She was the golden child, naturally brilliant, effortlessly charming, always excelling without even trying. I, on the other hand, had to fight for every single achievement. I studied harder, stayed up later, and constantly felt like I was running a marathon while she was just gracefully strolling. Our parents, bless their hearts, never overtly favored her, but the praise, the scholarships, the glowing reports. They always seemed to gravitate towards Clara. I loved my sister, truly, but there was always this tiny, insidious seed of resentment that began to sprout, watered by years of comparisons and her seemingly flawless existence. Clara was 2 years older than me. When she graduated high school, she was valedictorian, accepted into every Ivy League school she applied to, and received a full ride scholarship to her dream university. My graduation felt like a quiet whimper in comparison, even though I worked incredibly hard to get into a good state university. It wasn't prestigious, but it was a great program for my chosen field, computer science. I was proud of my acceptance, but the shadow of Clara's brilliance always seemed to loom large. When I started university, I knew I had to push myself even harder. I wanted to prove something, not just to my parents or to Clara, but to myself. I wanted to show that I, too, could achieve something truly remarkable. My university years were a blur of late, night coding sessions, endless problem sets, and a constant battle against imposter syndrome. I majored in computer science, a notoriously difficult field. There were times I wanted to give up, times I felt like I wasn't smart enough, times I missed out on social events because I was buried in textbooks. Clara, meanwhile, was breezing through her own degree, taking on internships at prestigious tech companies, and seemingly having a vibrant social life. She'd call me occasionally, full of cheerful updates about her latest adventures, and I'd listen, trying to sound genuinely happy for her, while inside I felt a familiar pang of inadequacy. Our parents were always incredibly supportive of both of us, but they tended to gush a little more about Clara's achievements. I remember one Thanksgiving dinner where my dad spent 20 minutes talking about Clara's internship at Google, while my own internship at a local startup got a polite, "That's nice, honey." It wasn't malicious, I knew that, but it chipped away at my confidence, slowly but surely. I tried to talk to Clara about it once, subtly hinting at how I felt overshadowed. She just laughed and said, "Oh, come on, you're doing great. Don't be silly, we're both successful in our own ways." It felt dismissive, like she couldn't even comprehend my struggle, because for her, success came so easily. The real turning point, the event that set everything in motion for that disastrous graduation day, happened in my senior year. I was working on my final capstone project, a complex machine learning algorithm for a real-world application. This project was everything to me. It was my chance to shine, to prove my worth, to create something truly innovative. I poured my heart and soul into it, spending hundreds of hours debugging, refining, and optimizing. My project mentor, Dr. Ramirez, was incredibly impressed. He told me it was one of the best capstone projects he'd seen in his 15 years at the university. He even suggested I submit it to a national undergraduate research competition, which was a huge deal. I told my family about it cautiously, trying not to sound too excited, bracing myself for the inevitable comparison. To my surprise, Clara seemed genuinely interested. She was home for a break from her own university, and she asked me to explain the project to her. I was flattered. I showed her my code, walked her through the algorithms, and explained the innovative aspects of my work. She nodded, asked intelligent questions, and even offered a few suggestions, which I appreciated. I thought for a moment that maybe we were finally connecting, sister to sister, without the usual competitive undertones. A few weeks later, I received an email from the national research competition. My project had been accepted, and I was invited to present it at their annual symposium. I was ecstatic. This was it, my big moment. I called my parents, who were thrilled, and then I called Clara. She sounded happy for me, congratulated me warmly, and even offered to help me prepare my presentation. I was so touched. I genuinely thought we were turning a corner in our relationship. The symposium was a nerve-wracking but ultimately exhilarating experience. I presented my project with confidence, answered questions from judges, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. A few weeks after that, the results were announced. I had won first place in my category, along with a significant cash prize and an offer for a prestigious postgraduate research position. It was the culmination of years of hard work, sleepless nights, and unwavering dedication. I was flying high. I was finally, truly, unequivocally successful on my own merits. The news spread through our family like wildfire. My parents were beyond proud. Even Clara seemed genuinely happy for me, or so I thought. We had a celebratory dinner, and everyone toasted to my success. Clara kept looking at me with this strange expression, a mix of something I couldn't quite decipher, admiration, maybe a hint of envy. I brushed it off, too caught up in my own triumph. Then, about a month before graduation, something strange happened. I got a call from Dr. Ramirez. He sounded concerned. He told me that someone had reported my project for plagiarism. My blood ran cold. Plagiarism, that was impossible. I had created every line of code myself, done every bit of research. He assured me he knew I was innocent, but he had to follow protocol. An investigation was launched. It was terrifying. My entire future, my degree, my reputation, all hung in the balance. I spent sleepless nights poring over my code, comparing it to every possible source, trying to figure out where this accusation could have come from. Nothing. My project was original. The university's Academic Integrity Committee began its review, and I had to provide reams of documentation, meet with faculty members, and essentially prove my innocence. It was a humiliating and incredibly stressful period. My parents were worried sick, but they stood by me. The investigation dragged on for weeks. Just when I thought I was going to lose my mind, a breakthrough came. The committee found that the anonymous report had come from an email address that traced back to a disposable, encrypted server, making it almost impossible to pinpoint the sender. However, a digital forensics expert hired by the university found a tiny, almost imperceptible digital fingerprint, a unique way certain lines of code were structured, a very specific debugging method that was present in my project, *** and * in the anonymous report's fabricated evidence, of plagiarism. It was a red herring designed to look like my own work had been copied from an obscure source, but the expert recognized my unique coding style embedded within the supposed proof. It meant the person who reported me had intimate knowledge of my project, down to my specific coding quirks. My heart sank as the realization dawned on me. There was only one person who had that level of access to my project, who knew my specific coding style, who had seemed so interested in every detail of my work. It couldn't be, couldn't be Clara. I pushed the thought away, trying to convince myself it was impossible. My sister would never do something so cruel, so vindictive. She was supposed to be happy for me. She was family. But then, another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. During the investigation, Dr. Ramirez mentioned that the anonymous tip included details about my project that hadn't been publicly released yet. Things I had only discussed with a very small circle of people, including Clara. The committee cleared me, thankfully, finding no evidence of plagiarism, but the seed of doubt about Clara had been firmly planted. I didn't confront her immediately. I couldn't. The thought that my own sister would try to sabotage my biggest achievement, to tear down everything I had worked for, was too painful to process. I pushed it deep down, trying to focus on my upcoming graduation. I just wanted to get through it, get my diploma, and move on with my life. I wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding, a terrible coincidence. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I was standing there, in my cap and gown, ready to walk across the stage, with this crushing secret about my sister, or at least, my terrible suspicion. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted her right then and there? Would you have swallowed it and tried to move on? What would your next move be? The moment I stepped forward, my name announced, the cheers of my family in the distance. That's when Clara shrieked. She cheated to get here. The silence was deafening. Every single eye in that auditorium was on me, then on Clara, then back to me. My mother had her hands clasped over her mouth, tears already welling in her eyes. My father was starting to stand, his face a mask of furious confusion. The dean on stage, Dr. Evans, looked utterly bewildered. I felt a cold calm wash over me. All the years of feeling overshadowed, all the comparisons, the quiet resentment, the recent betrayal, it all crystallized into a single, burning point of clarity. I knew, with absolute certainty, that she was the one who had reported me. This wasn't just a moment of sibling jealousy. This was a calculated, public attempt to humiliate and destroy me, right at the peak of my hard-won triumph. She hadn't just reported me. She was trying to ensure everyone knew she thought I was a fraud, even after I was cleared. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated malice. I took a deep breath, adjusted my gown, and instead of walking towards Dr. Evans to receive my diploma, I turned directly towards Clara. The silence in the auditorium was so profound that I could hear my own heart pounding in my ears. I walked slowly, deliberately, down the aisle, my gaze fixed on her. People in the rows nearest me shifted uncomfortably, some gasping, others whispering. My parents were calling my name, but I ignored them. I reached the row where Clara was standing, still pointing at me, her face flushed with a mixture of rage and what looked like a flicker of fear. She probably expected me to cower, to cry, to run away. I stopped directly in front of her. My voice was calm, steady, and clear, amplified by the stunned silence of the crowd. "Clara," I said, "you know I didn't cheat. The university investigated your anonymous report, and they cleared me." Her eyes widened, and her finger dropped slightly. A ripple of murmurs went through the audience. An anonymous report. People were starting to connect the dots. You knew I was cleared. I continued, my voice gaining a quiet intensity. You knew how hard I worked. You knew about my capstone project, every detail of it, because I showed it to you. I trusted you. I paused, letting that sink in. And you tried to destroy it, and me, because you couldn't stand to see me succeed. Clara's face went from furious to pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She was cornered, exposed. You sent that anonymous report to the Academic Integrity Committee. I stated, not as a question, but as a fact. They traced aspects of the report back to my unique coding style, and to details only a handful of people knew. Details I shared with you. The murmuring in the audience grew louder, a wave of shock and disbelief washing over them. People were turning to look at my parents, who now looked devastated and utterly bewildered by this public revelation. "You're just jealous," Clara finally managed to shriek, her voice cracking. "You've always been jealous of me." I shook my head slowly. "No, Clara," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, but still cutting through the noise. "I was never jealous of you. I was always proud of you. I just wanted to be seen for my own achievements, not always in your shadow. But you are jealous of my success, and you were willing to lie and sabotage me to prevent it. Then I did something I had never planned to do, something that just came to me in that moment of raw emotion and icy clarity. I reached up to my cap, took it off, and then, very slowly, I took off my gown. I folded it neatly over my arm, holding it up for everyone to see. I have worked too hard, sacrificed too much, and earned this degree with too much integrity to let your bitterness tarnish this moment. I announced, my voice ringing out through the hall. I will not accept my diploma here today, not with you polluting the air with your lies and malice. I will accept it privately, where my achievements can be celebrated for what they are, untainted by your jealousy. I turned my back on Clara, leaving her standing there, a pariah in the middle of a stunned audience. I walked back down the aisle, past my gaping parents, past the gasping attendees, and out of the auditorium. I didn't look back. The entire hall remained silent for a long moment, before a few scattered whispers, then a growing murmur, began to fill the space I had just vacated. The aftermath was a whirlwind. My parents were furious with Clara, absolutely mortified by her public outburst. They demanded an explanation, which she couldn't really provide beyond vague accusations of unfairness and my always being favored. They eventually forced her to apologize to me, but it was a hollow apology, full of resentment. I accepted it, but I knew our relationship was fundamentally broken. I did indeed pick up my diploma privately a few days later, and the dean personally apologized for the incident, assuring me that Clara would be facing university disciplinary action for her defamatory actions and for attempting to impede my graduation. My story became a legend on campus, a tale of a wronged student who stood up to her saboteur. The postgraduate research position was still waiting for me, and I embraced it with renewed determination. Clara and we barely speak now. Our family dynamics are forever changed, strained by that public betrayal and the deep cut it left. I lost a sister that day, in a way, but I found my own voice, my own strength, and my own unburdened path to success. I learned that some battles you have to fight alone, and sometimes the people closest to you can be your greatest adversaries. So that's how it all went down. I'm still processing it, honestly, even now. I wonder if I handled it the right way, if there was another path I could have taken. But in that moment, standing there, exposed and humiliated by my own sister, I felt like I had no other choice but to defend myself and reclaim my triumph. Like this video if you were on my side. If you think I did the right thing. Subscribe for more stories like this, and please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.